Chapter 47 of Married Thrice to Salted Fish. Back home, Lin Chingu went to the morning hall alone. There was only one person's tablet enshrined in the hall. He looked at the roughly carved characters Zhang the Shang and stood there for a long time in a trance. You told Shu Junyan, but you didn't tell me? Lin Chingu said softly. And you said you weren't a bastard. The warm wind blew. No one answered him. There was a knock on the door, and Huan Tong said from outside, Young master, Manager Zhang is here. Before Lin Chingu headed out, he said to the tablet, But as long as you can come back on time, I won't scold you anymore. Oh, one more day. You can do it, my salted fish, you can do it. Zhang Shequan had been called by Lin Chingu. He didn't know what Lin Chingu wanted him for, calling him out this night. So he first truthfully reported the situation to Nanan Hao. In just one short month, the Hao mansion had undergone earth-shaking changes. It was no longer dull and lifeless, and the reason for that was Pan Shi was expecting. This was something Lin Chingu never thought possible. He had underestimated Nanan Hao. Despite being so devastated, he struggled to get up and find a way out for himself. After the doctor diagnosed Pan Shi as being with child, it could be said that Master Hao's illness was cured without any need for medicine. Now there is no longer any need for him to be confined in bed. Soon he may be able to return to court. He may be of a mind to return to court, but there may no longer be a place for him there. After saying this, Lin Chingu returned to the original matter. During the few months you were in Suzhou, aside from investigating the matter of the private salt business, you also handled quite a few matters for the young Master Hao. Isn't that right? Zhang Shequan was momentarily stunned, and then he smiled bitterly. It seems there is nothing that can be hidden from the young master. Tell me, Zhang Shequan said. Young Master Hao asked me to find someone in Soucheng in Suzhou. He instructed me to find a way to obtain a certain token from him. Lin Chingu asked, Who is this person? I only know that he is a butcher under the pseudonym Zhu Yongxin. As for this person's real identity and real name, I am afraid only young Master Hao knew. Lin Chingu nodded and said, You have worked hard. Later, go to the warehouse and get some tonic and give to Pan Yin Yang. Zhang Shequan said, Yes, young master. The next day, when Lin Chingu woke up early in the morning, he felt as though his chest was empty, his heart missing. Hualu entered the room and saw Lin Chingu sitting by the bed in a daze. She called out, Young master? Lin Chingu suddenly said, Today, let's go back to Lin residence. It may be that not everyone knew about him moving house. When they arrived at the Lin residence, Lin Chingu accompanied Mother Lin for a meal and then spent the rest of the time in the study. Seeing that he was in a bad mood, Mother Lin stopped Lin Chinghe, who wanted to stick to his brother. Your brother wants to be by himself. Lin Chingu sat alone from day till night, until they began to light the lanterns. Huan Tong came in and reminded him, Young master, it's time for you to enter the palace. Tonight, Lin Chingu had to be on duty at the Imperial Hospital for 6 hours. Lin Chingu asked him, What time is it? Huan Tong replied, It's already Zhuxi. Then until Zhishi, there's still Lin Qingyu stopped speaking. He calmed down and said, "Help me change clothes." The curtain of the night shrouded everything, and the palace gate was locked. Most of the imperial physicians on duty at the imperial hospital were the young ones with less seniority, with only one or two of the older physicians in charge. Huji was preparing medicine according to a prescription. He was unsure of the dosage for one of the medicines, so he raised his head and asked Lin Qingyu beside him, "Imperial Physician Lin, would it be better if this snowdrop bush was a little less?" "Imperial Physician Lin?" Lin Qingyu came back to his senses and said, "What?" Huji put down the medicine and asked, "What has been on your mind these days? It feels like you have been absent minded." Lin Qingyu rubbed the space between his brows. "It's nothing." "If something has happened, you must tell me," Huji said sincerely. "I can." Before Huji could finish speaking, a panicked voice came from outside the hospital. "Imperial Physician Hu! Is Imperial Physician Hu here?" The person who came was the little eunuch in charge of sweeping Xinjiang Hall, Little Fuji. He came to the Imperial Hospital in the middle of the night because a eunuch who stayed in the same room with him suddenly fell ill, suffering from unbearable abdominal pain. They were eunuchs and no one really cared when they got sick. Only Imperial Physician Hu would diagnose and treat them wholeheartedly. Imperial Physician Hu packed his things without another word. "I will go right away." Lin Qingyu said, "You still have to make those beauty pills for Concubine Chen." "I will go." Imperial Physician Hu said in surprise. "You're willing to go?" Lin Qingyu nodded. He wanted something to do, and only when he was facing a patient could he find a moment of peace. Hoji was the only one Little Fuji trusted. He was a little uneasy when he heard this. "Imperial Physician Hu isn't coming?" Hoji smiled and said, "Don't worry, Imperial Physician Lin's medical skills are better than mine. With him there absolutely won't be any problem. Don't you know that Imperial Physician Lin was the one who came up with the cure for the epidemic?" Little Fuji's eyes lit up. "Really? Thank you, Imperial Physician Lin." Lin Qingyu said, "Lead the way." Lin Qingyu followed Shao Fuji to Silijian, where the eunuchs lived. The imperial palace was grand and magnificent, but the other side of this stateliness and solemnity were these cramped rooms where 7 to 8 eunuchs were squeezed in. The room he arrived at could still be considered quite good. The eunuchs who stayed here were those who served in Xinjiang Hall. The people serving the emperor had to at least be clean and odorless. Eunuchs assigned to do the most strenuous labor usually had a sour odor on their bodies. Lin Qingyu diagnosed the sick eunuch as suffering from a stomach ache from having eaten something bad. Lin Qingyu gave him something to induce vomiting, making him empty out the contents of his stomach. The patient should make a full recovery after drinking stomach nourishing medicine for a few days. Little Fuji thanked him repeatedly. "I will send Imperial Dr. Lin back to the Imperial Hospital," Lin Qingyu said. "No need. But it's already Zishe and it would be hard to make your trip back in the dark." Lin Qingyu was stunned. "It's already Zishe?" Shao Fuji said, "Yes." The last piece in Lin Qingyu's heart emptied. This day has finally passed. He still hadn't shown up. Rebirth from death. Just how rare was a soul transfer? Before that person, he had never even heard of such a thing. Experiencing it once was already unbelievable. How could he possibly be given it a second chance? To die is to die. After death, there is nothing left. He actually believed that person's nonsense. So stupid. Lin Qingyu stayed fixedly at one spot for a long time. He suddenly closed his eyes as though he could escape something by doing so. After that, he carried his brand new medicine box and said, I, I can make it back on my own. When he got to the door of the room, the eunuch who was sleeping on one side turned over in his sleep and muttered indistinctly, If art change, if even remain the same. If art change, if even. Lin Qingyu stopped abruptly. He looked down in disbelief, staring at the handsome little eunuch. The little eunuch, completely unaware in his deep sleep, still kept muttering that sentence. If art change, if even remain the same. Lin Qingyu's pupils instantly shrank. His body grew numb from head to toe. Without a care for anything else, he grabbed the eunuch by the collar, pulling him up. The eunuch opened his eyes drowsily and looked at Lin Qingyu blankly. Am I dreaming of immortals? Lin Qingyu's mind went blank for a while. He instinctively uttered the words he'd been reciting countless times in his heart. For the symbol look to the quadrant? The eunuch was even more at a loss. What? Lin Qingyu had mixed feelings. For a while, he didn't know what to say. He looked down at the eunuch and said, voice trembling, You have realized your lifelong dream? He transmigrated to a eunuch, becoming an actual Lagog? Imperial Physician Lin? Little Fuji wanted to hold him back, but felt that. Sorry, Oh my gosh, this is so freaking hilarious for him to think the salted fish actually got transmigrated into a little eunuch. Oh my gosh, so freaking funny. But for a rational person like him, he should know, he should realize that he actually does like the salted fish because he felt listless and he felt his heart empty. Yeah, that's some bosom brothers there. Imperial Physician Lin, little Fuji wanted to hold him back but felt that his hands were not worthy of touching such a beautiful imperial doctor. Imperial Physician Lin, this is Shao Songxi from Xinjiang Hall. Is there something you need from him? Lin Qingyu was momentarily dazed, but his reason gradually returned. If that person was in the palace, he would have come to him long ago. It was more likely that Shao Songxi knew this sentence because someone else had told him. Lin Qingyu's hand suddenly became ruthless, his expression cold. He said sharply, Where did you hear this sentence? Shao Songxi was grabbed by the collar. He was almost out of breath. What sentence? If art change, if even remain the same. I don't know anything. Shao Songxi's face flushed. I just keep hearing it from the scholars in Xinjiang Hall. They keep repeating this sentence from morning to night like chanting scripture. Before I knew it, I'd memorized it too. Lin Qingyu slowly let go, his mind in a whirl. The surprise at having lost and then suddenly finding and the perturbated feeling of not knowing the truth mingled in his mind. But now was not a time for surprise or apprehension. He needed to calm down and find out more information. Huji had mentioned Shao Songxi to him many times, and they have gotten a lot of information from him. According to Hu Ji, Shao Songxi was simple minded and knew how to repay gratitude. He was a very trustworthy person. If what Shao Songxi said was true, how did the scholars of the Imperial Academy know this? Lin Qingyu's expression cleared up slightly. He asked, "What else did you hear in Xincheng Hall?" Shao Songxi said slowly, "That's all. The door to the side hall of Xincheng Hall is always kept closed and no one can come out. I can go in because I have to deliver meals to them 3 times a day. Oh, I also heard them mention Shishya a few times." Lin Qingyu asked again, "When did the scholars of the Imperial Academy get locked up in the Xincheng Hall?" "About 3 or 5 days ago. I don't even know what they are doing." Now that the emperor was seriously ill, the crown prince was in charge of the country. Shao Cheng must have been the one who ordered all the scholars secluded in Xincheng Hall. So the source of the message was Shao Cheng. Did Shao Cheng also learn it from Shishya? In any case, that person was still alive. Yes! And it was possible that he is in Shishya or at the Dayu's border. The border between Shishya and the Dayu was in constant turmoil. Perhaps that person knew that he wouldn't be able to come back on time, so he made this unwise decision. Yes! You understand your husband so freaking well! He was still alive, but he couldn't come to him for a long time. Instead, he used God knows what method to pass on the code to the Dayu's court. This clearly meant that he either could not get away or that he needed to conceal his identity. He let Shao Cheng know this code, not for Shi Yu to respond, but simply to convey the fact that he was still alive through Shao Cheng's mouth. That being the case, he mustn't expose it either. At least he couldn't respond to this secret message in front of Shao Cheng. Lin Qingyu pondered for a long time. His rapidly beating heart finally calmed down. He said to Shao Songxi, "I owe you a favor for this matter." Shao Songxi gave an embarrassed smile. "Imperial Physician Lin is a friend of Imperial Physician Hu, and you were willing to come to where the eunuchs live to treat us. We don't know how to repay you except to reveal some irrelevant gossip." Lin Qingyu suddenly felt it was good to be a good person occasionally. Yes, occasionally. I mean, he's nice to people who are nice. He's not necessarily evil. He's only evil to the people who actually provoke him. So that's good. Like, that's how you should be. That's how you'll be a strong person. I want everybody to learn that.